The market doesn't give a damn about your mortgage payment. It couldn't care less about your car loan, your maxed out credit cards, or the promise you made to your family that this trading thing was finally going to work out. The market is completely, utterly, brutally indifferent to your financial pressures, your emotional breakdowns, and your desperate clawing need for just one big win to make everything okay. And that indifference, that cold mechanical heartlessness, that's exactly what makes it so devastatingly dangerous when you're undisciplined. Picture this moment with me. It's 3:47 p.m. on a Wednesday. You're staring at your trading screen, palm sweating, watching your position move against you tick by agonizing tick. Your stomach is churning because you absolutely know, you should have taken that stop loss 10 minutes ago. But something inside you whispers, just hold on a little longer. It has to turn around. Your rent is due in 5 days. Your credit card payment is overdue. And this trade was supposed to be the answer to all of it. Instead, it's becoming the nail in your financial coffin. If you've ever felt the market crushing your soul while your bills pile up on your desk, listen closely. Because today, I'm going to show you exactly how the market hunts undisciplined traders like a predator stalking wounded prey. And more importantly, how to never become that prey again. Here's what 95% of traders get completely wrong about discipline. They think discipline is about following rules when the sun is shining and profits are rolling in. They think it's about sticking to their plan during those beautiful winning streaks when every trade feels like magic. They think discipline is managing risk when setups are obvious and the market is practically handing them money. That's not discipline. That's just basic competence. Real discipline, the kind that separates the 5% who make it from the 95% who get destroyed, is what happens when the market wraps its hands around your throat and squeezes until you want to throw every rule you've ever learned straight into the trash. Most traders think discipline is about feeling confident and in control. But discipline is about making correct decisions when you feel completely out of control. When your emotions are screaming. When every fiber of your being is telling you to do the opposite of what your plan says. The ones who survive and thrive are not the ones who never feel fear, greed, or desperation. They're the ones who feel all of those emotions intensely, but still execute their plan with robotic precision. Think about a surgeon performing emergency surgery. Do you think they feel no stress, no pressure, no emotional intensity? Of course they do, but they've trained themselves to operate their hands with steady precision regardless of what chaos is happening in their mind. That's exactly the kind of discipline successful trading requires. The market is a psychological assassin. It doesn't just take your money, it studies you first. It learns your breaking point with scientific precision. It discovers exactly what amount of pressure will make you crack, exactly what sequence of events will make you abandon everything you know to be true. Watch this pattern and tell me it doesn't sound familiar. The market gives you 3 winning trades in a row, building your confidence like a house of cards. You start feeling invincible, like you finally cracked the code. Your position sizes start creeping up because you're in the zone. Your entry criteria become a little more flexible because you're reading the market better than ever. Then wham! 5 brutal losses that don't just take your money, they attack your very identity as a trader. Each loss hits harder than the last because now you're not just losing money, you're losing the confidence that made you feel like a trading god just days earlier. But here's the terrifying part. This isn't random. This isn't bad luck. This is the market systematically testing your discipline, and 95% of traders fail. That test so spectacularly that they never recover. The market has an unnatural ability to time its attacks. It strikes exactly when you're most vulnerable, when your personal life is in chaos, when you're behind on bills, when you've just had a fight with your spouse about money. It's like the market can smell psychological weakness the way a shark smells blood in the water. A trader can be doing well for months, following their rules, building their account steadily. Then life hits them hard. Divorce, job loss, medical emergency, family crisis. Suddenly their trading, which had been their one source of stability, becomes erratic and emotional. The market senses this vulnerability and destroys them with surgical precision. Picture this scenario, and I know you've lived it. You're down 3% on your account for the week. It's Thursday afternoon, and that sick feeling is building in your stomach. You can almost hear the clock ticking toward the weekend, toward another week of failure, toward having to explain to yourself why you're not making progress. Suddenly, that marginal setup, the one you'd normally skip without thinking, starts looking like a gift from the trading gods. The pattern isn't quite right, the volume is weak, the context is questionable, but your brain starts rationalizing, maybe I'm being too picky. Maybe successful traders take trades like this. Maybe my criteria are too strict. Your brain whispers seductively, you need to make it back. You can't end the week in the red. One good trade will solve everything. You've studied this market for years. Surely you can make this one exception. And in that moment, your discipline is being tested with the precision of a surgeon's scalpel. The market has created the perfect storm of psychological pressure. Time pressure, financial pressure, ego pressure, and the tantalizing possibility of redemption all wrapped into one seemingly reasonable trade. If you listen to that voice, you've already lost. Not just money, you've lost the psychological war. Because once you make that exception, once you prove to yourself that your rules are negotiable under pressure, the market knows it owns you. But here's where it gets truly diabolical. Sometimes breaking your rules actually works. You chase that reversal and nail it perfectly. You double your position size on pure gut instinct and it pays off magnificently. You hold a losing trade way past your stop and it finally turns around like you knew it would. These wins are pure psychological poison. They're more dangerous than any loss because they teach your brain that discipline is optional, that rules are just suggestions for lesser traders, that you can outsmart the market through sheer force of will and superior intuition. What you don't realize is that the market is teaching you to be reckless during exactly the conditions that make recklessness appear profitable. Low volatility makes oversized positions seem safe. Trending markets make poor entry timing seem irrelevant. Bullish sentiment makes extended holding periods feel like patience rather than stubbornness. The market lulls you into abandoning the principles that protect you, then changes conditions once you're fully committed to the new, reckless approach. It's like a con artist who lets you win small amounts to build confidence before taking everything in the big score. But the market remembers everything. It remembers that you can be broken. It files away the exact sequence of events that made you abandon your plan. And it will use that information against you with surgical precision when the stakes are highest and you can least afford to lose. Let me tell you about Marcus, a trader who learned this lesson the hardest way possible. For 8 months, he had methodically built his account from $5,000 to $25,000 using a simple momentum strategy. Clear rules, solid risk management, the patience of a sniper waiting for the perfect shot. His system was beautifully simple. Wait for strong moves in liquid stocks. Enter on the first pullback with tight stops. Take profits at predetermined levels. Risk never exceeded 2% per trade. No exceptions, no gut feelings, no special situations. Just mechanical execution of a proven process. Then the market decided to test him. It started subtly. A few trades that looked perfect but stopped out by a few cents before reversing in his favor. Then some clear setups that just didn't follow through the way they usually did. Marcus started second-guessing his entries, wondering if he was being too quick to take profits, questioning whether his stops were too tight. For an entire week, nothing worked. Every trade that looked perfect turned into a loss. Every setup that should have been easy money became a painful lesson in humility. The market wasn't just taking his money, it was systematically destroying his confidence in the very system that had made him successful. Instead of stepping back and analyzing what was happening, Marcus's discipline crumbled like a house of cards in a hurricane. He started forcing trades that didn't meet his criteria, convincing himself that he needed to adapt to market conditions. He increased his risk to 5%, then 8%, then 12% per trade, trying to make back what he'd lost. He jumped between strategies like a desperate gambler switching slot machines, hoping something would stick. In 5 trading days, he gave back not just that week's losses, but 6 months of profits. His $25,000 account dropped to $8,500. The market had tested his discipline and found it wanting, and it destroyed him for it. But the market doesn't always test you with dramatic crashes and obvious breakdowns. Sometimes it's subtle, patient, almost gentle in how it destroys your resolve. This slow poison is actually more dangerous than dramatic failures because you don't see it happening until it's too late. You start with a rock-solid plan to risk 2% per trade. After a few small wins, 2.5% doesn't seem dangerous. After a few more, 3% starts looking reasonable. The progression continues gradually. 3% becomes 4%, then 5%, then 8%. Each increase feels justified by recent success. Before you know it, you're risking amounts that could obliterate your account in 3 consecutive losses, and you didn't even notice the transition. The market slowly, methodically, patiently convinced you to abandon the very thing keeping you safe. It used your success against you, rewarding progressively riskier behavior, until you reached a point where a normal losing streak would destroy you. Other times, the test is immediate and devastating. You wake up to news that gaps your position against you by 20% at the open. Your stop loss becomes meaningless. Your careful risk management gets obliterated by forces completely beyond your control. This is when discipline matters most, because your natural reaction will be to panic. Close everything. Swear off trading forever. Or worse, immediately try to make it back through bigger, more desperate trades. The disciplined trader knows that gaps happen. They've mentally prepared for these moments long before they occur. They understand that no risk management system is perfect, and they've already decided how they'll respond when the inevitable black swan event strikes. When the gap happens, they don't panic. They assess the damage objectively, adjust their position sizing to account for the loss, and continue following their plan with whatever capital remains. They treat the loss as tuition paid to the market university, not as a reason to abandon everything they know about profitable trading. Here's what most traders never understand. The market's tests never stop. Just when you think you've proven your discipline, just when you think you've mastered your emotions, the market will find a brand new way to challenge you. It will test you with winning streaks that make you overconfident. It will test you with losing streaks that make you doubt everything you've ever learned. It will test you with boring sideways markets that tempt you into bad trades just to feel productive. It will test you with explosive volatility that triggers your fear and greed simultaneously. It will even test you with success, and this might be the most dangerous test of all. Nothing destroys discipline faster than a massive win that makes you feel invincible. You start thinking the rules don't apply to you anymore. You start believing your own hype. You start taking trades you'd never consider when you were struggling, simply because you feel like you're on fire. This doesn't feel like a test. It feels like validation, but it's the market's most elegant trap. Remember Marcus? After that devastating loss, he didn't quit. He didn't blame the market or make excuses. He looked at what happened with brutal honesty and realized his discipline had been untested, not truly developed. He spent 6 months rebuilding his psychological foundation. He created specific protocols for high volatility environments. He practiced visualization exercises where he imagined his account dropping 30% and planned exactly how he'd respond. He wrote detailed scripts for what he'd tell himself when the urge to break rules became overwhelming. When the next crisis hit 18 months later, Marcus was ready. The market opened down 7%, and instead of panicking, he felt an odd sense of calm. He had rehearsed this moment dozens of times. His position sizes stayed exactly where his plan dictated. His rules remained unbroken despite chaos everywhere. While other traders blew up trying to catch falling knives, Marcus methodically worked his plan. The market tested his discipline again, but this time he passed. Real discipline isn't about willpower or mental toughness. It's about preparation and systems. You need predetermined responses to specific situations before those situations arise. When your account drops 5% in a day, what exactly will you do? When you have 3 winning trades in a row, how will you prevent overconfidence from destroying your risk management? These aren't theoretical questions. They're tactical preparations for psychological warfare. The market tests discipline through mind-numbing repetition as much as dramatic extremes. It will give you the same losing setup 5 times in a row, not because the setup is bad, but to see if you'll abandon it after the 5th loss. It will make you wait 3 weeks for your next high-quality entry, not because opportunities don't exist, but to see if you'll lower your standards out of impatience. Most traders fail these repetition tests because they mistake normal variance for system failure. They see 3 losses and decide their strategy is broken. They go 2 weeks without a trade and convince themselves they're missing opportunities. The disciplined trader understands that trading is a probability game played over hundreds of decisions. They know that short-term results, whether good or bad, tell them almost nothing about the quality of their process. Consider the psychological warfare the market wages through timing. It will give you a perfect setup right after you've decided to take a break. It will create the trade of the year 5 minutes after you've closed your platform. It will make the market move exactly as you predicted, but only after you've exited your position. This isn't coincidence. It's the natural result of millions of traders responding to the same emotional triggers. The market profits from collective psychology, and collective psychology is remarkably predictable. Your job as a disciplined trader is to recognize these patterns without getting caught up in them, to maintain your individual process while everyone else is being swept up in collective madness. I knew a trader who went through a divorce right in the middle of his most successful year. His personal life was chaos, his emotions raw, his need for control overwhelming. The market sensed this vulnerability like a shark smells blood. Every trade seemed to go against him just far enough to trigger his stops before reversing. Every winning position stalled just short of targets before collapsing. His discipline had worked for 18 months, but now it felt like the market was personally attacking him. Instead of abandoning his approach, he did something remarkable. He cut his position sizes in half and committed to following his rules even more strictly. Not because he thought it would solve his problems, but because he recognized that emotional turmoil made him dangerous to his own capital. 3 months later, when his situation stabilized, his account had actually grown, while most traders had given back significant profits. The market had tested whether he could maintain discipline while his life fell apart. He passed. The tests get more sophisticated as you progress. Beginners face obvious emotional traps. Advanced traders face subtler challenges. Professional traders face the most complex tests of all. Consider how the market tests patience during sideways, choppy action. Day after day of small moves, fake breakouts, marginal setups that don't quite meet your criteria. Your brain calculates how much money you're not making while sitting on the sidelines. You start second guessing whether your standards are too high. This is where most traders break. They lower standards just enough to justify mediocre trades. The market rewards this initially with small wins that reinforce bad habits, then destroys them when volatility returns. The disciplined trader knows that not trading is often the most profitable choice. They use quiet periods to review, refine, and prepare. Discipline isn't just restraint, it's readiness. The market also tests through false signals and near misses. Setups that look perfect until final confirmation fails. Price that moves within ticks of your entry before reversing. Patterns that match your criteria except for one small detail. These near misses are psychological torture. The undisciplined trader begins making exceptions. The disciplined trader insists close enough is not good enough. The market uses success to destroy discipline more effectively than failure. A hot streak convinces traders to abandon risk management. Oversized positions seem justified. Gut feelings seem superior to systematic criteria. Then conditions shift and the market collects its payment. Here's the ultimate truth about discipline. It's not about feeling confident when you follow your rules. It's about acting correctly when confidence has abandoned you. The market strikes when you're vulnerable, stressed, distracted, uncertain. Your discipline during these moments is survival. When everyone else is panicking or celebrating, your predetermined rules are your competitive advantage. The test never ends because the market never stops evolving. New instruments, new technologies, new participants create fresh challenges. But the principle remains constant. Stick to your process regardless of conditions. Be flexible in analysis, but inflexible in execution. Adapt expectations to match volatility, but never compromise setup quality. The market will always find new ways to test your discipline. It will attack weaknesses, exploit strengths, use success against you. But if you can see these tests for what they are, you can prepare. You can build systems that function regardless of how you feel. You can develop strength that treats chaos as opportunity. Your discipline isn't about rules when it's convenient. It's about staying true when every instinct screams to abandon it. Because in the end, the market doesn't care about your feelings or your pressures, but it will reward those who stay disciplined when it matters most. The war for your discipline never ends, but now you know you're fighting it, and more importantly, you know how to win.